leaders. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This would be the third forum, and this is for Fulton County Superior Clerk. Let me give a little housekeeping rules. All phones on silent. I want to thank the pastor for letting us use his church. So I believe in when you're in another man's house, you respect his house. Thank you, Pastor, for allowing us. I want to thank the councilwoman for being here, Catherine Rao. We're going to ask, again, all phones on silent. My moderator is Mrs. Kathy Adams. Pastor J.D. Flint. And the candidates for running for Fulton County Superior Court Clerk. Thank you, guys. I'm going to turn it over to my moderator. And again, my name is Damita Chatman. I'd like to ask you to turn your cards.
So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Candidates Forum for the Fulton County Clerk of the Superior Court. We'd like to say thank you again for joining us. This is our in-person audience as well as our online audience. And it is most important that you've taken time out to listen to the candidates this evening because we want you to be informed voters, not just vote for people who have the most signs out or who've made the most touch points, but those who are best qualified to do the job. This is not just for a particular given area. This is for all of Fulton County. And do understand that Fulton County is the largest county in the state of Georgia. So this is a big job. So with that, we'd like to say welcome again. My name is Kathy Adams, and this is
Joe Flint, all one word, like a Tribe Called Quest.
Pastor Joe.
Let me say something so we can won't have no confusion. We have 4 candidates in this race. And one of the candidates did let me know that she couldn't attend by email, but all candidates were contacted and confirmed but the one. Thank you.
So as we move on through the evening, just wanted to share a little bit of the overview with you about how we're actually going to moderate the forum. Joe and I will tag team on questions. The questions will come from our in-person audience and they will be submitted. We ask that you submit those via index card, and from our live virtual audience, if you would submit those via the chat box. And so some additional housekeeping rules. Each of the candidates will have 1.5 minutes to share their opening statement. They will have 2 minutes to share their closing statement. They will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. All of the candidates will receive the same number of questions. However, you may not receive the same questions. So we ask that you pay attention to the questions. If the candidates speak longer than the allotted time, they will be asked to stop. So again, if you have any questions, do submit those via index cards. Pass those up. We'll get those. Joe and I will vet the questions so that we're not asking the same question 3 or 4 different ways. So, Joe, I'm going to actually turn this over to you for just a moment and share some additional information with us.
Again, thank you so very much, Kathy, and thank you all for joining us, and thank you candidates for joining us as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an election year. With that being said, we have several elections or several offices that are up for election. And in this particular election, we have 4 candidates that are qualified to run for this particular office. All of the candidates will be participating in this evening's forum. Each candidate will share information with you about themselves as to why they are the better candidate for this position to represent the residents of Fulton County. Each of the candidates is seeking to govern, create policy, manage budgets, and a visionary creating long-term plans for this office, more so lead with tact and diplomacy. Again, we do have a timekeeper that will keep track of the time. And as was stated by Kathy earlier, if in fact the candidate should go over the time frame, he or she will be asked to stop. Tonight, we are presenting information to voters to a fair, nonpartisan setting. So without further ado, let's get the forum started and hear from our candidates. And we'd like to start, I am a Southern gentleman, and so we want to start with our lady, Miss Alexander. Please take the time to introduce yourself and let the audience know who you are and what you're currently running for.
Thank you so much. My name is C.E.E.L. Alexander. I am your Fulton County Superior Court clerk, and I am running to keep my job. I've been with the county, born and raised in Atlanta. I've served the citizens of Fulton County inside and outside of the clerk's office for more than 25 years. I've worked on several projects, have implemented case management systems. I've been in the community, and I'm the best qualified person for this position.
Thank you so much, Ms. Alexander. We'll move to your right with Mr. Hughes, Joe Hughes.
Thank you, sir. My name is Joe Hughes. I've spent most of my life in the Atlanta area. I grew up in Stone Mountain, went to high school in College Park, and then studied computer science at Georgia Tech. A lot of my friends are attorneys and realtors, and I can't go anywhere without hearing about the problems with deed fraud in Fulton County and all across the state. Our state legislature is pursuing some additional measures to help with these problems, but when Fulton County was hacked back in February, we've proven that we can't even protect the data that we have. Adding more data will just make more problems for our current systems, and we need a new way of thinking about how to manage these systems to avoid these issues going forward. Real estate records are where the clerk's office touches pretty much every single person in the county, and it's not something most people think about until there's a problem. I'm not a career politician. I've worked in private industry and government systems, and with my background in IT, we can solve a lot of these issues with deed fraud and system outages. We have links available at clerkjoe.com for more information on how to protect your assets that take you directly to the place where you can register to get alerts if anything's filed against your property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. And ladies, finally, but not least, Mr. Rodney Fowler.
Thank you. My name is Rodney J. Fowler. I am running for clerk of court because there needs to be a change in the clerk's office. Historically, Fulton County has had women as clerks. Women vote. Women have ran the clerk's office. Juanita took over in 1988. So moving forward, it is time for a change in the clerk's office. The reason why I believe that I am the better candidate for the job is because I was groomed in the clerk's office. I was groomed since 1997 to run the clerk's office. That's why I feel that I'm better fit for the job.
Thank you so very much.
So let's go ahead and get started with our questions for each of the candidates. Again, you will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each of the questions. And if you should run over, you will be interrupted and asked to stop. So, at the leisure of the moderators, we will ask the questions in random order. So will not be 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. We get to select which one goes first. So without further ado, what are your top 3 priorities when you get in the office, Mr. Fowler, if you will?
Top 3 priorities is to clean up the real estate with the deed fraud. There's a system that they have in place, which is called REACT. It's a voluntary program that they have. But being in Fulton County, because we have so many homeowners, it needs to be made mandatory. That's the first one. The second one is customer service, delivering great customer service. That's all what we do. The clerk is the custodian of records, ensuring that all of our records are restored and kept for our children's children, so that if something comes up, they would know where to go and what to do.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. Mr. Hughes, next question. How would you handle backlog management? What's your strategy?
Backlog management is a problem where the clerk's office has documents and sometimes it takes too long to process. Right now, we've got a 14-day backlog on real estate. So if you try to sell your house and you go look it up, you may not even own that house. There may have been something filed in between that you don't know about that causes problems for you. So I've got a number of friends and I've heard from a lot of different people that have had problems with that. The way that you fix that is by getting those documents processed faster.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. Next question. There was a Senate Bill 474 that was filed, and this question is for our incumbent, Ms. Alexander. What is your position on Senate Bill 474?
Can you tell me what? Senate
And
Bill
it has to do
474
with e-filings, that allows someone to fraudulently take a
for
the
the
deed of someone's
real
home.
estate? So there's a lot of talk about real estate fraud. Understand, you said the Senate bill, right? The clerk follows the laws that are set by the legislator. The Senate bill that you're discussing will allow for us to determine whether there's ID required. Right now, we get documents in, and if it's in proper form, if the signature is there and it's a proper notary, we take it, right? So there's no way that at that time we know if it's a fraudulent document. So I believe that this bill discusses putting things in place so that we can determine whether it's a fraudulent document up front.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. And Joe.
Thank
next
you
question.
so very much, Kathy. I want to ask you, Mr. Hughes, as you mentioned that you have a background in IT, I want to inquire about, excuse me, forgive me for my backup, investment in technology and community engagement. How do you see yourself working, or how do you see yourself improving the technology in the clerk's office?
That's a great question. The biggest problem that I see a lot of times with IT systems is that people really don't have a backup plan. They think they do, but they don't test their backup. You have to have disaster recovery. Generally, people do that once a year, annually. You go in and you actually spend a weekend or whatever you need and practice and make sure that your backups actually work. You know, Fulton County got hacked back in February, and it turns out it took us probably several months to get back and running again. You need to work on that second strategy. What happens if you lose an engine? I fly airplanes on the weekend, and I really enjoy flying twin engine airplanes. And my kids know Daddy likes the twin engine airplane because you've got a second engine, you've got a backup option. That's what we're missing with these IT systems.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Fowler, what would you say is one of the greatest concerns currently in this clerk's office?
Customer service. Customer service. Based on the fact that they have a call center. The call center never answers the phones. So if you or anyone that needs information or need help, how do you reach the clerk's office? Where are the employees in the clerk's office? So the question is customer service. How do you receive good service? How do you receive it? You can't, there's no one to answer the phone. Emails. I've had someone to call me about emails. Who's answering emails? So where is the service in the clerk's office?
Thank you so much. Ms. Alexander, staffing, if in fact staffing is a problem, how do you plan to combat that issue in the upcoming term?
So we have 200 plus employees in the clerk's office. Staffing is not a concern. What I'm able to do, because I've worked through most of the areas in the office on a daily basis, repurpose employees, right? So where there's not a delay, there's a 14-day gap for real estate. It's a good through day. You have 14 days the law gives us 14 days. You're a good clerk if you process documents in 14 days. Our documents are processed within 48 to 72 hours. So I'm not sure where Mr. Hughes got his information from. As far as customer service, if the call center is short, I repurpose staff to the call center because we get over 1,000 calls a day. So I'm able to look at each area in the office, from clerk operations to real estate operations and the call center, and we repurpose the employees. So staff shortage is not a problem in the clerk's office at this time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Hughes, next question. Deed filings, Senate Bill 474. What is your position on that? And currently 474, it makes it mandatory to provide, that's what it, provide ID in person.
Right. So I think it's a good idea in theory. The problem is right now we've got information held in the clerk's office in these IT systems that's been leaked. There are problems. We don't know if it was leaked. We don't exactly know what came out with this hack, but we've got these systems that are all connected, and it's a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to add more personal information. Now we have to also have a driver's license, which is personally identifiable information that we're going to have to store additionally. So you're adding more problems on top of that. There are ways to fix that, but we need to fix these IT systems, make them more secure, more robust, and less hackable to fix those kinds of problems.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. Ms. Alexander, what are your top 3 priorities?
First of all, community engagement. When you talk about being the clerk of Superior Court, most people don't know what we do, right? And so community engagement and just increasing the footprint of that in the community. The second thing is, as Mr. Hughes talks about, technology is a big thing, right? Fulton County was hacked. The clerk's office was not hacked. And they store most of our documents. So working on ways to embrace and enhance technology in the clerk's office is the second thing. And the third thing is to work with the justice partners. As the elected official now and the relationships with the other justice partners, I lead task force where we're breaking down systems and processes, because the things that we've been doing for the last 20 years are antiquated. And so I'm looking at those processes to revamp them so we can be more efficient.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next question. Investment in technology and community engagement. Mr. Fowler, what's your position on that?
Investment in technology. Well, the clerk just said that she wants to redo or revamp the technology that's in the clerk's office. What is the technology? Secondly, community engagement. You're right. No one knows what the clerk does. The clerk is the custodian of records. That's what the clerk does. The clerk is not a popular movie star. The clerk don't arrest, the clerk don't charge, and the clerk don't dispose of cases. So the clerk is the custodian of record. We need to make sure that we have technology that will help the community. It's good that I know because I'm in the clerk's office, but when you come to the clerk's office, you don't know. So technology enhancing what she has will help the office out and the constituents, because the constituents don't know what the clerk does.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fowler. To Mr. Hughes, there has been conversation concerning customer service. I don't know if you yourself have witnessed any issues with it, but how would you improve the customer service in the clerk's office?
That's a good question. I think that by clearing the backlog, there are public websites that have information on how far behind the clerk's offices are in every county. And that some of the counties, 3 or 4 days is good. 14 days is a lot better than it used to be. It used to be a much worse backlog, but that is public record that's accessible. So how would we fix? I'm sorry, go ahead and ask the question again.
I just want to know, how would you improve the customer service?
How to improve
Yes.
customer service? Yes. I think that that's the biggest part, is that you clear that backlog. One of the problems with customer service, one of the things that I've heard, the problems that I've heard from attorneys, is that a deed might be recordable, but it's not enforceable. Just because the clerk's office is willing to record that and put it in the file doesn't mean the judge is going to enforce it. So that's another problem that we have with the deed fraud that gets to customer service. Customers need to know that just because the document's filed, that's going to be enforceable by the court later, and that's going to be better customer service.
Thank you so very much. Ms. Alexander, I'd like to ask you, you mentioned earlier we talked about your top 3 priorities, but how do you prioritize as clerk of court?
Good question. The clerk's office and being the clerk is not an easy job. It's not an on-the-job training. Because I have the experience, you have to have the right people in the right place, right? And so as I drive this bus, I continue to look to make sure people are in the right seat. We have the technology. One day it may be, oh, we have so many indictments from the district attorney, we need to focus on indictments. Maybe judges had a lot of court that day, we need to do dispositions. Oh, we got a lot of real estate filings coming in. So you don't prioritize based on the certain thing. You have to do it on a daily basis, right? In order to be an efficient clerk's office, you have to be able to look at the whole entire picture and the whole pie, and then decide what you're going to work on for that day. So my priorities change on a daily basis.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Alexander. Mr. Fowler, you have mentioned that you are currently in the clerk's office, or had been in the clerk's office. Correct me.
Yes.
Currently in.
No. I left the clerk's office in 2015. I left the clerk's office and went to juvenile court. And then when I left juvenile court in 2015, I transferred over to the magistrate court.
Got you. So my question to you is, give me an example or give me a time in which your expertise in the clerk's office has assisted the clerk the clerk of court.
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
Tell me about a time, because of your background and your
Mhm.
understanding of the clerk's office, tell me about a time when your expertise has assisted to improve any of the issues or any of the problems that the office face.
With customer service, I didn't do real estate. I worked in the courts division, which was civil and criminal. And what I did under the leadership of Juanita Hicks and Kathleen Tina Robinson, I had the record room, which was where you get all the records at if you want a copy of a record. And I also did the English Street where all the records are kept. And so my expertise was just good customer service.
Thank you very much. So next question is around due process, privacy rights, and ethical experience. Mr. Hughes, what's your position on that?
Privacy rights and ethics. I'm trying to think of how to describe something that would relate to the clerk's office. I think everything government should be ethical. We need to rebuild trust in our government. Right now, we've had a lot of problems, especially through COVID. We've had Donald Trump on trial. We've had a lot of problems. And ethics comes to doing the right thing every time. Last summer, we had a problem where there was a document that was released before, and I think that came out that there were some issues with how that was released. I think that's a bit of a problem, and I think that's really a disqualifying event to have things like that happen. I think it starts with very simple actions with every single one of us doing the right thing every day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Fowler, what's your position on Senate Bill 474, and that's with the e-filings of the deeds?
E-filing is technology. It's the way of the future. And it should, right now, the court is a paperless court. I agree with e-filing because that's now where we're going. And to be blunt with it, you have to make sure that your staff knows what e-filing is. You know, you have to have trained staff in order to file documents. If you're e-filing, then you shouldn't have to wait 48 hours to have something sent over to the court's docket. So if it's e-filed, then it should be e-filed immediately. So you shouldn't have to wait until a clerk decide to process that document. So e-filing is the way of the future.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Fowler. Ms. Alexander, you are the incumbent in this current position. Why do you feel that you're still the best candidate to continue forward with the clerk of court?
I'm the best candidate for this position for several reasons. First of all, when you talk about e-filing and you talk about being a paperless court, I was there on the front end of that. The court was a manual process. I implemented with my team, we implemented e-filing. I have the experience with the justice partners, the relationships. Fulton County is a very complex government. And without relationships, the collaboration I have with the DA, with the sheriff, with the solicitor, with the county government is unparalleled. I worked for this county as a consultant where they approached me to work for the county. I worked inside of the clerk's office. No one has the experience from the foundation of what's been going on in this county. I've never been in charge, so they can say, oh, we need new blood because she's been in it. I've been in it as a number two, and as clerk, since I've been clerk is in July of 2023, I think we made a lot of strides.
Thank you so very much for that very candid answer. Mr. Fowler, let me ask you really around the same thing, and I hate to ask the same question, but what I want to know is, what do you believe makes you more qualified now than ever before?
Because of my experience in the clerk's office, the clerk just mentioned that she was on the front end of e-filing. That was done under the leadership of Kathleen Tina Robinson. E-file was initiated under her tutelage. What makes me the better candidate is because I'm coming in with old and new. You know, she mentioned about the way we used to do things, but that's what got us to where we are now. And because I have the knowledge, because the clerk's office is a hands-on job. It's not where you go and learn how to do the job. You know, it's doing the job. And I think I heard Ms. Alexander mention that she was asked to come over to the clerk's office. Probably so. But being in the clerk's office and working with the DA, working with the sheriff, and also working with the justice partners, that's what we all should be doing. But she is correct. She instrumented stuff for the county and not for the clerk's office.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Hughes, how important are the relationships with all of the entities that feed into the clerk's office? How important are those relationships?
I think the relationships are very important. I think that obviously all of the different departments need to work together. The judges need to work together with the clerk. The sheriff needs to work with the clerk. All of these departments definitely need to go together. But I think there's also time for transition. I think that some of these old relationships that have been around too long, they can be problematic. It can cause some blurring of some ethical questions. So I think that needs to change. I know that Tina was the former clerk and she appointed Shay to the position, and she's also now backing a different candidate for that position. So to me, I think that means we can't trust either one of them. I think we need a change.
Next question. Ms. Alexander, how would you manage the backlog? What is your backlog management strategy?
So currently, we don't have a backlog. The county had a Project Orca. Project Orca was after COVID. Obviously, there were no cases being processed because the courts were closed. I managed a $75 million project called Project Orca, where we developed systems so that we could hear those backlog of cases. We've cleared at least 63% of those cases under the project. And currently, think about it, the backlog either occurs, and you'll have to work in the office to understand most of this. The backlog either occurs with the prosecutor or with the judges. The backlog with the clerk, we only can receive and accept documents as they come in. And if I'm saying that our real estate documents are processed within 48 to 72 hours, and our court documents are being processed within 24 to 48 hours, there's no backlog in the clerk's office. We manage the paperwork as it comes into the office.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next question. Mr. Fowler, since you've been in the system for quite some time, how do you deal with employee morale?
Employee morale.
What is your proposal for employee morale?
Well, I'm not the party person. You know, employees, when they see that you're the party person, that draws attention. But morale, you need happy employees. You need happy employees. If you have happy employees, you have happy constituents. So if the employees are happy, then that makes all of us happy because we're doing a great job. You know, we used to have this thing back in the day. It was called a shark attack. And so if you're doing a great job, then that means that the shark will walk around till you tap you get to go home. So that's why those types of, as they say, older things, they work, because employees need to know that you're cared for. You know, employees, we used to have this thing called a math team that make all things happen. That's what employees did. It was made up of employees. And so the employees were based on, they were doing their own thing to make them happy. You can't stop that. Managers and supervisors, they were all willing to assist with that.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Fowler. Mr. Hughes, can you discuss for us or tell us about a time when you were managing and or organizing calendars, schedule hearings and or court proceedings or anything close to that? Can you tell us about a time when you've had to manage and organize calendars, schedules and things of that nature?
Yeah, managing calendars and schedules have been part of everyday business life for forever, for 20 years of my career. I've worked with IT teams where I have project managers. We always have a calendar and a schedule that we're managing. And I work in an industry where we're processing CAD documents. CAD documents are the most highly technical and difficult documents to manage that I can imagine because they're literally three-dimensional versus a clerk's office that's a two-dimensional document. So, I've spent 20 years of my career working with those types of issues, managing calendars, managing documents, and all of that.
Thank you so very much. Ms. Alexander, how do you ensure effective communication and collaboration with other staff, judges, and legal professionals?
First of all, when you talk about, I keep talking about relationships, and it is really key. You have to have the trust, right, of the justice partners. My relationship with the Superior Court judges are very collaborative. If they need anything, we communicate via email. They usually call on my cell phone. As far as staff, we communicate via email. I mean, we do Teams meetings, and the communication it goes top down and bottom up. So we are reaching out to staff with everything that's going on. I'm very transparent with the staff with things that are going on. And we have a policy where they can email and ask for information, and we're able to provide that information. But I think it all goes back to the leader, right? Having the ability for them to feel comfortable having a conversation and trusting the person that's leading them.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Fowler, there has been a stigma, if you will, concerning Fulton County in all the government areas that you're my friend, so I'm going to get you this job. You're her friend, so I'm going to get you that job. In what ways do you maintain confidentiality and security when dealing with sensitive case information? And do you maintain that based on friendships?
No, you can't maintain that based on friendship because that's what it is. It's confidentiality. There is a lot of talk around the county that if you hire my friend, then I got a gift for you. If you hire my relative, I have something for you. Rumor has it that in the Fulton County government that if you, there are deals to be made, which causes an issue for the county. Because if a deal is made and that person don't have the experience to do what needs to be done, it creates a problem. And one of the issues that you brought up is with the interim clerk and a deal to be made about hiring someone in the office with a 6-figure salary. So we were just trying to, that's something in Fulton County that we have to stop.
So, Mr. Hughes, I'm going to ask you, how do you deal with employee morale? What's your strategy?
That's a good question. I have 2 kids at home. I've got an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. And I think it's very important to put your foot down early to set what the boundaries are. And I think once you've done that and you've been very clear with your employees, then we can go off and have fun. Let's get the work done. Let's go home, have fun.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And the last question for this evening. Ms. Alexander, how do you deal with privacy rights and ethical experience leadership?
Everything in the clerk's office, right? You have to have someone that is ethical and trustworthy. We deal with private information. When someone is arrested, we have all of their information. And so there are systems in place where you have to know what the public can see and what they can't see. So I spend most of my day trying to collaborate with the team to make sure that the information because it's access, right? We want to make sure that we give the right access, but the right information is more important. So we deal with it very strategically, and we make sure that the information that is given out to the public is information that they should have and not information that they should not have.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hughes, Ms. Alexander, Mr. Fowler. Thank you so very much for your answers and your participation. Ladies and gentlemen, just before we get to what we would call the close, each of the candidates will have an opportunity to give, if you will, their stump speech as to why he or she is best fit to continue serving or in order to serve in this position. And so at this time, we're going to give, I believe it's 2 minutes in closing, 2 minutes in closing Oh, excuse me, we have some additional questions. I apologize.
Okay, so we have 3 questions that have come from our in-person audience, and we will do that before we allow you to go into your closing statements. And so one of the questions is, having a little challenge there reading that. Here's the other question. What do you bring to the clerk's office that differs from your opponents and this is for all of the candidates, but I'm going to start with Mr. Hughes. What do you bring to the clerk's office that differs from your opponents?
That's a great question. I bring a fresh perspective. I bring an IT background. I work with systems. I know how to have redundancy and how to have backups, how to test your backups, and to make sure that a lot of the problems, that we don't have those problems again, that we can bring new blood, we can build some new relationships and build a new reputation for Fulton County that's positive moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Alexander, same question.
We can talk about new perspectives and new everything. I think we all would bring a new perspective. I've only been the clerk since July of 2023. It sounds corny, and I say it all the time, but experience matters, right? This is not an on-the-job training kind of job. If you don't know the documents, if you don't know the players, if you don't know how to get this document from A to Z, it's going to be very, very hard. And the system could possibly flatline if you got a person in this seat that doesn't have any experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so, Mr. Fowler, same question. What do you bring to the clerk's office that differs from your opponents?
I bring experience. Ms. Alexander just said, if you don't know the work, you won't be able to, it will flatline. You have to be able to move the paperwork from one end to the next, from beginning to end, because that's someone's life, liberty, and your property. And that clerk is responsible for that.
Thank you. I do have one question, and this is for the incumbent. And I'm going to do my best to read this card. So when you submit these, you got to make sure they're legible. It says you've mentioned that your office is the heartbeat of the justice system, and that your work you work with multiple justice partners. As the current clerk, what is your take on your relationship with the Fulton County Justice Partners, and why are more relationships something to, who wrote this question?
I can speak to, I guess I can speak to relationships.
Okay, because I was just going to ask them to just
I'm not
tell
sure
me what this last sentence
I am not
is, but
sure
okay.
what
But it
they
has
were
to do with
getting to,
relationships and partners
with
in
the
the judicial
relationships.
system.
And
Yes.
so, you guys, I'll just tell you, and I say it every time I talk to someone when I'm trying to explain, the elevator speech is the judges rule on cases, the sheriff arrests, and the DA indicts. The clerk, I am the heartbeat. The team is the heartbeat of this justice system. And so the relationships are not old. The DA and the sheriff are fairly new. They've only served one term. So those are fairly new relationships. And when I say that we collaborate, there was a time in Fulton County where the sheriff wouldn't even talk to the DA and the DA couldn't talk to right? It was bad. We collaborate. And what I'm saying is these relationships are key. So if you're getting to the type of relationships we have, I am the heartbeat of the justice system with my team, and the relationships are the best relationships that have been had in Fulton County in many, many years.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we are going to wrap it up. We're going to close out, and we will move into the closing statements for each of the candidates, where each of the candidates will have 2 minutes to share why they are the better candidate, how you can be reached, if you need volunteers, if you need donations, sign in the yard, whatever it is you want your voters to know, and why you want to be the next elected clerk of the Superior Court. So, Mr. Hughes, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you. So my website is clerkjoe.com. Please go visit that website for more information on what our platform is, my policies, my thoughts, Miss Alexander is correct. The office has a lot of great employees. Those employees need to know the details of how these documents work. There may be additional training we can have, but the clerk needs to make sure that the overall, if there are 20 people that are working on deeds this day, and we've got one problem that's standing out with all of those 20 people, that's the job of the clerk, is to make sure that those problems are being handled, the outlying cases that are causing the major issues. So it's not necessarily the clerk's job to understand every detail of what's happening every day. You've got 200 great people on staff that are working very hard to do these things. The clerk's job is to enable those people to do their job. I think that bringing new blood is a good thing. I think that these relationships can cause ethical questions sometimes. Sometimes the clerk's office, by certain actions, can overstep their bounds, and it looks like they're more important than the judge, or it looks like they're more important than the sheriff. She's absolutely right. The clerk's office is very important, and most people are not looking at this. Most people are not looking at the clerk's office until they have a problem with deed fraud, until they have a problem with their court record being released. So this is a very overlooked position a lot of times. And I think that's why right now it's more important than ever to look at what this is, look at your choices, look at the history, look at what Tina Robinson did, her choices to appoint Shay, her choice to back somebody else now, and let's make this thing work.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Fowler, if you will, we'll give you 2 minutes for a closing statement. Again, tell the voters how they can reach you, learn more about you, your platform. They want to volunteer, donate money, yard signs, whatever you want them to know. Why are you the better candidate?
I'm the better candidate for the position. It's because I come with the experience. I also, my top 3 priorities is to get that deed fraud stuff taken care of. Secondly, customer service. And thirdly, passport money. That became an issue on television. That's something that belongs to the clerk. Legally, it goes to the clerk, but elected as clerk, I believe it should go to the county. Give that money back to the county where it goes. And as your clerk, everything that we would do in the office would benefit the citizens of Fulton County and not the clerk. It would be for you. That office is your office. It's not my office. I work for the citizens of Fulton County, not Rodney Fowler. I have a name. We need to make sure that cross board with the justice partners, all of them, just not the sheriff and the DA, the judges. We're there to support the judges. We're not in front of the judges. We not the one who is in the front. Has always been a behind the scene office. That is what the clerk of court does. The custodian of records. That is what we do. A constitutional officer that pushes paperwork, whether it's electronically or whether it's by paper. Vote for Rodney Fowler, 2024. I could be reached at elect R Fowler, R Fowler 24, FCSCclerk.com.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so, Ms. Alexander, same question. Share with the voters why you are the better candidate for the job, how they can reach you, what your platform is. Do you like donations, volunteers, yard signs, what have you?
My name is Shay Alexander, and I'm currently your Fulton County Superior Court clerk. Unlike my opponents, I know the jobs in the office. I beg to differ to say you just need a clerk that can get the employees to do the work. When you talk about office morale, the employees respect a clerk that knows the job, right? The employees respect someone that can get in the trenches with them. The employees respect someone that can say, hey, this is backed up today. What are we doing? The employees respect someone that can tell them, hey, this GCIC hasn't been transmitted. Let's process it this way. And so I'm asking for your vote for several reasons. One reason is that I am born and raised in this city. I have given my life to Fulton County. I've walked the same streets you walked. I've had the same issues that you've had. I am walking in my purpose. This is my job, right? And I'm going to continue to serve you. I am about the people. People, purpose, and passion is my motto. I'm about the people. I'm not about the money. I'm not about the name. People know me for what it is. It is what it is. And they keep talking about the elephant in the room. Yes, I chose integrity over a friendship, and I'll do it again tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please keep your applause and comments. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you have just heard from 3 qualified candidates vying to serve as the next clerk of court, the clerk of Fulton County Superior Court. Their future lies in your hands, and as constituents and voters of the clerk of court for Fulton County Superior Court, it is our hope that you will use your vote as your voice to elect fair representation. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take note of the following dates as they are important when it comes to the election. We are currently in early voting, which began on April 29th and ends on May 17th. Primary election is May 21st. Primary runoff election is June 18th. Early voting in person begins October 15th through November 1st. Last day to register, to request an absentee ballot is October 25th. Saturday and Sunday voting are October 19th, 20, 26th, and 27th. Election day is November 5th, and general election runoff, if necessary, will be December 3rd.
So ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with this. Well, let me back up. Let me just say this. As a resident of Fulton County, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your neighbors, and you owe it to your family to elect the most qualified candidate to serve you in this great county. Again, this is the largest county in the state of Georgia. You owe it to yourself to elect the best candidate who can do the job. So I leave you with this in closing. Be an educated and informed voter, and know before you go. Know who is on your ballot, know what is on your ballot, know when to vote, and know where to vote. You need to go to the Secretary of State's website, pull a sample ballot before you go to the polls. Also, check to make sure you're still eligible to vote. Check to make sure you're voting in the right precinct, in the right district. The lines have been redrawn since you last voted. So know before you go. More so than anything, exercise your right to vote. Pastor Joe and I say thank you so much for attending and joining us this evening. These candidates have done a wonderful job. Let's give them all a round of applause, if you will, please. It takes a lot to offer yourself to serve as a public servant. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to the host for the evening.
Thank you, guys. It's great. I know it's hard. I want to thank the candidates for showing up tonight. Citizens for Excellence, want to thank you guys. We are not doing an endorsement. We're going to take pictures, but that's not endorsement. We're here to hear from the candidates and let you guys make a decision. Before I turn it over to the pastor for closing remarks, I sent an email to each one of the candidates and I asked for one thing. And I'm hoping that you guys read the email and would do that. This is not a mega church. He allowed us to come into his house. So I asked those candidates for $25 a piece to help on the lights and etc. Anything else with this for the filming of anything else, I'm taking care of that myself and the flyers and all. Again, I want to thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Chris. I want to thank you, Pastor Chris, again, for allowing us to be in your house. And so early voting started today. And so let's make a difference. Make sure you vote for the candidate of your choice. Thank you, Pastor Chris.
Amen. Thank you.
If we have money that we want to give the church, can we?
Yes, you can put it in the pan back there, and everything that you give will be turned over to the church. And then whatever they don't give, I'll make it up for the church. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sister Chapman. And thank you to the candidates for coming out and participating in this community forum. This is a house of prayer, house of faith. And so we followed through on what Paul wrote to Timothy in 2 Timothy, and told him that we are to pray for those who have authority over us and to pray for those who serve, so that we might live peaceable lives, so that things can be done decently and in order. And I know that this is election season, and I want to encourage you again to make sure that above all that we're in position to vote, but also to make sure that you as a community resident recognize the importance of a relationship with God. I thank God for the conversation this evening about relationships, but there's one relationship that supersedes all the others, and that's the relationship with Jesus Christ. That's the relationship that will carry you through no matter whom gets to the White House or any other house. It's important to know who's in your house. And so we want to pray with you tonight as you go down from this place. We're thankful for our moderators. We're thankful for the sponsors of these forums. We're happy to host these because I think it's important for the community to come together and the church not to be left out. It's important for these forums to be held. Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you that we are able to come to you in honest prayer, presenting to you this Superior Court clerk position. You know already who you have selected. And dear God, I pray this evening, the word of God declares, which we stand on your word. I pray this evening that even as your word declares, that even the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord, and you direct it like a river of water. Father, we're thankful this evening for these awesome, this awesome sister and these awesome men that are here this evening. I pray to God that they continue on their journey in you. I pray, Father, that they will continue to serve the community regardless of title, understanding the importance of serving one's fellow man. And then, Father, for those of us who are on the other side of election, I pray, Father, for every family that is represented here this evening. I pray, Father, for the parents and for husbands and wives, and even for the children that are here. They're hearing. They're watching. And Father, they're seeing things and hearing things that are going to go with them throughout their lives. And so, Father, we just pray that you would make it work for good, because your word declares all things work together for good to those who love you and who are called according not to a man's purpose, but to your purpose. And so, Father, go with us this evening as we separate, go to our various destinations. Bless all that takes place in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you guys so much. We started late, but we got out on time. It's not on. We're gonna take some pictures with you guys. And so y'all ready? We ready? Thank you for coming. Come on, Shay. I gotta stand back there. This is the only time I'll be taking pictures with candidates. Don't crumble for an endorsement. No, we good. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Alexander. Thank you. Let me shake your hand. Thank you.